In today's video, we're about to get lost. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back. Ever since the debut of Jurassic Park, we've known that the best way to meet dinosaurs in the modern era is through genetic engineering. Misguided scientists trying to play God by bringing back creatures that have been extinct for millions of years through the miracle of science. But when I was a kid, that idea really didn't exist yet. Back in the 70s, there were only two ways that we knew of to meet actual dinosaurs. One, of course, was time travel, going back to that prehistoric time yourself. But the other way was discovering a lost world. What is a lost world? It's an area in the remotest parts of the Earth. A secluded plateau, an undiscovered island, a lost valley, or an area within the Hollow Earth, where evolution took a back seat and where dinosaurs and prehistoric creatures still exist, usually alongside primitive cave people. Lost worlds could be found everywhere. In science fiction literature, cartoons, comic books, B-movies, pulp fiction. If you were a kid that loved dinosaurs back then, there was always a new lost world to discover. So in this video, I'm going to count down my top 10 favorite lost worlds. Number 10. The Lost Valley from Turok, Son of Stone. Turok, Son of Stone debuted in Dell Comics 4-Color Comics number 596 in October 1954. And the character was published by Dell and Gold Key Comics until 1982. A Native American warrior named Turok and his younger brother Andar find their way into and become trapped in a lost valley. They encounter all manner of prehistoric creatures and men while trying to find their way home. In 1992, Valiant Comics revamped the character to Turok Dinosaur Hunter, along with other old Gold Key characters, Magnus Robot Fighter, and Solar Man of the Atom. This new iteration of Turok took a more sci-fi approach to the concept, with the Lost Valley inhabited by aliens and bionic dinosaurs. Acclaim Comics revamped the concept yet again in 1997, making Turok a title that means Son of Stone, rather than an actual name, a mantle passed down through different ages to warriors that protect the barriers between dimensions. The concept of Turok also made its way to Dark Horse Comics and Dynamite Comics. A video game series based on Turok originated with Acclaim Studios in 1997. So far, 7 different games featuring Turok have been published, with an 8th in development at the time of this recording. In 1998, Playmates released a series of toys based on the first Turok video game. And in 2008, Turok made his way to animation, with a direct-to-DVD animated film produced by Classic Media and Film Roman. Turok took the unique approach of pitting Native American warriors against prehistoric creatures. And due to all the revamps and reinterpretations over the years, the concept has a rich history across various mediums, originating with comic books. Number 9. The Valley of Gwangi. The film The Valley of Gwangi was released in 1969, directed by Jim O'Connelly, produced by Charles H. Schneer, with visual effects by the legendary Ray Harryhausen. The project originated via Harryhausen's mentor, stop-motion effects legend Willis O'Brien. In the film, out in the Mexican desert, a tiny prehistoric horse is discovered, an ancient Eohippus, which should not exist. The tiny horse is acquired by the Buffalo Bill Wild West show, a combination rodeo and circus. The tiny creature is traced back to a place called the Forbidden Valley, a place that has been deemed cursed by the locals. A group of circus cowboys enter the Forbidden Valley, and there they encounter Gwangi, a terrifying meat-eating Allosaurus. They eventually capture the giant carnivore and bring him back as the new star attraction of the Wild West show. Of course, as all these types of movies have taught us, nature cannot be contained, and Gwangi soon escapes, causing terror among the populace. Although not much of the Forbidden Valley is explored in this film, it makes my list by nature of being a Ray Harryhausen film. Out of Harryhausen's 16 films, this is the only one that deals with any sort of lost world. Due to that, the Valley of Gwangi makes number 9 on my list. Number 8. Scartaris from the Lost World of the Warlord. The Warlord was created for DC Comics by writer-artist Mike Grell, debuting in first issue special number 8, November 1975. United States pilot Travis Morgan, a veteran of the Vietnam War, was piloting his SR-71 plane, which was damaged during a spy mission over Russia. The plane descends into an opening at the North Pole, which takes him to a lost land at the center of the Earth called Scartaris, a land where creatures from myth and Earth's ancient past live amid fantastic cities and the remains of the lost civilization of Atlantis. Travis adapts to this new land, meeting many allies and enemies along the way, and eventually gaining the title of Warlord, battling the likes of evil kings and his arch-enemy, the sorcerer Deimos. In 1982, Remco Toys adapted The Lost World of the Warlord for a toy line that aped the size and scale of the popular Masters of the Universe. The Lost World of the Warlord has appeared outside of comics only once, in a single episode of the cartoon Justice League Unlimited, the Season 3 episode called Chaos at the Earth's Core. Mike Grell took inspiration from classic science fiction literature when he created Scartaris, including Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth, and Edgar Rice Burroughs' Land of Pellucidar from At the Earth's Core. The original Warlord comic book series ran for 133 issues, concluding in the winter of 1988. But The Lost World of the Warlord has returned in 3 different series since that time, with the last one being published in 2010. And the Lost Land of Scartaris remains in DC canon for any future artist or writer who wants to pick up the sword and continue the battle of the Warlord. Number 7. Journey to the Center of the Earth. One of the granddaddies of the Lost World genre, Journey to the Center of the Earth, written by Jules Verne, was first published in French in 1864. Eccentric Professor Otto Lindenbrook believes there are volcanic tubes that reach the center of the Earth. The professor, with his nephew Axel and their guide Hans, descend into a dormant volcano in Iceland and enter an unknown world where they encounter cave-ins, tornadoes, an underground ocean, and various prehistoric creatures. Subterranean fiction existed before Journey to the Center of the Earth, but it was Verne that added the idea of dinosaurs still existing within the Hollow Earth, and his novel inspired many future works in the genre. This classic work of science fiction has been adapted many times in different mediums. 2 that I remember fondly are the 1959 film adaptation starring James Mason and Pat Boone. Although I do enjoy this movie, the special effects, if you can call them that, in this film, used modern lizards with attachments glued on to represent dinosaurs, a cruel practice that has long been banned in Hollywood filmmaking. The other adaptation I'll mention is the 1967 animated series by Filmation, which takes more of its inspiration from the 1959 film adaptation rather than Verne's original novel. The Journey to the Center of the Earth animated series aired for 17 episodes on the ABC network. Number 6. The Land That Time Forgot. Written by Edgar Rice Burroughs and published in 1918, The Land That Time Forgot is the first story in Burroughs' Caspak trilogy. Set in the year 1916 during World War I, a German U-boat sinks a British ship in the English Channel. Through luck and determination, the survivors of the sinking, led by American Bowen Tyler, board and commandeer the U-boat with the intent of sailing it to a friendly port. One of the German officers sabotages the ship's compass, and they find themselves in Antarctic waters. Desperate to find land, the U-boat comes across an uncharted landmass called Caprona. Low on fuel and supplies, they enter through a subterranean passage, emerging in a tropical realm of dinosaurs and primitive men. A world that Burroughs named Caspak. British film studio Amicus released a movie adaptation of The Land That Time Forgot in 1974, starring Doug McClure as Bowen Tyler. The dinosaurs were brought to life via puppetry and were obviously fake. But the film is so well acted, especially the first act, with the twists and turns on the U-boat as they unknowingly travel to the Antarctic, that I can forgive the budget-conscious special effects. Doug McClure became king of these types of films in the 1970s, going on to star in 2 more Burroughs adaptations for Amicus. A sequel called The People That Time Forgot in 1977, and At the Earth's Core in 1976, which co-starred Peter Cushing. At the Earth's Core features Burroughs' other lost world, Pellucidar, a world located in the Hollow Earth. Number 5. Skull Island. Skull Island made its first appearance in the 1933 film classic King Kong, one of the first giant monsters on the loose movies. Carl Denham, a filmmaker known for his wildlife films in remote exotic locations, charters a ship to take him to an uncharted island with a mountain in the shape of a skull located in the Indian Ocean. Taking along struggling actress Ann Darrow to star in his nature film, Denham and the crew get more than they bargained for when they discover on this mysterious island that dinosaurs still exist alongside a gigantic ape that the natives have named Kong. The ship's crew manage to capture Kong and bring him back to civilization, where Denham puts the giant ape on display for the public. And I think you can figure out what happens from there. Skull Island has been brought to life several times in film. In the 1933 original, it was special effects pioneer Willis O'Brien that brought Kong and the dinosaurs of Skull Island to life via stop motion. In the Dino De Laurentiis 1976 remake of King Kong, the dinosaurs were sadly absent, with the only other creature on the island being a giant rubber snake. But the dinosaurs were back with a vengeance in Peter Jackson's 2005 remake of the original film. In this version, Skull Island was full to the brim with dinosaurs brought to life by CGI. Personally, I think all the CGI in this version was a bit much, but your mileage may vary. And the latest version of Skull Island comes to us via Legendary's Monsterverse, making its debut in 2017's, appropriately titled, Kong Skull Island. In this version, the uncharted island is not populated by dinosaurs, but by gigantic unearthly creatures called Titans. In this version of Skull Island, there are all manner of bizarre creatures that have evolved like no other place on the Earth, and they all want to kill you. Kinda like Australia. Moving on. Number 4. The Savageland. A tropical land hidden in the Antarctic, the Savageland and its protector, Kazar, first appeared in X-Men number 10, March 1965. The Savageland is a valley in Antarctica surrounded by a ring of volcanoes that was set up as a game preserve by an alien race called the Nuwali during Earth's Triassic period. The technology of the aliens has kept the climate of the Savageland consistent for millions of years, allowing prehistoric animals, as well as dozens of human and humanoid species, to thrive. The protectors of the Savageland are Kazar, Marvel's knockoff of Tarzan, his saber-toothed tiger companion Zabu, and Kazar's wife Shauna the She-Devil, who is Marvel's knockoff of Sheena, Queen of the Jungle. Marvel never met an idea that they didn't want to rip off. Shauna's comic book career began with her living in the modern world, but she became cynical of modern living, retreated to the Savageland where she met and eventually fell in love with Kazar. They were married and had a son named Matthew. Other inhabitants of the Savageland include the time-displaced Devil Dinosaur and Moon Boy, and villains the mutant energy vampire Sauron, and the genetically altered Stegron the Dinosaur Man. Over the years, almost every Marvel superhero has had an adventure or two in the Savageland, with some of the most frequent visitors being the X-Men, Spider-Man, and the Incredible Hulk. The Savageland has appeared several times in animation, most notably in the 1990s X-Men animated series. And it made the briefest of brief appearances in the MCU in the film Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. The Savageland is a great setting for old-style pulp adventure stories, and maybe someday Marvel Studios will decide to explore it properly. Number 3. The Lost World. I guess it wouldn't be much of a Lost World list without mentioning The Lost World. First published in 1912 and written by Sherlock Holmes creator Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, The Lost World relates the story of arrogant and volatile zoologist professor George Edward Challenger. Challenger reports that he has found a remote plateau in South America where prehistoric life still exists, and mounts an expedition to return to the plateau and bring back proof. Joining him are his rival, the skeptical Professor Summerlee, newspaper reporter Edward Malone, and adventurer Lord John Roxton. After becoming trapped on the plateau, the explorers have to survive both dinosaurs and primitive ape men while trying to find a way back. The Lost World was first adapted into a silent film in 1925, which featured stop-motion effects by Willis O'Brien, who went on to do the effects for King Kong. My favorite version of this story is the 1960 color film adaptation, which was directed by Irwin Allen, a name familiar with fans of disaster films and 1960s science fiction television. This version features an all-star cast, which includes Claude Rains, Michael Rennie, David Hedison, Jill St. John, and Fernando Lamas. This is the version I saw the most when I was a kid, being showed frequently on the Saturday afternoon Creature double feature. Unfortunately, much like the Journey to the Center of the Earth adaptation I mentioned earlier, this film brings its quote-unquote dinosaurs to life using actual lizards and baby alligators, with various horns and fins glued on. Although stop-motion dinosaurs were considered, the filmmakers did not have the budget to pull that off, so they went with this inferior and frankly more inhumane method. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World has probably been adapted more than any other Lost World fiction. In 1992, a pair of films was released direct to DVD, starring John Rhys Davies as Professor Challenger. In 2001, a made-for-British TV adaptation starred Bob Hoskins as Challenger. And a TV series loosely based on The Lost World ran in syndication for 3 seasons, between 1999 and 2002. Every once in a while, a weird coincidence occurs in entertainment that makes you scratch your head and wonder if one didn't influence the other. You know how when 2 movies about erupting volcanoes come out at the same time, or 2 movies about asteroids hitting the Earth, and so on and so forth. Well, one of those coincidences occurred on Saturday morning, September 7th, 1974, where 2 different families from 2 different studios on 2 different networks both went on a river rafting trip and wound up in a lost world. And that brings us to number 2, Valley of the Dinosaurs. Hanna-Barbera's Valley of the Dinosaurs debuted on that day on the CBS network. The Butler family, science professor John, his wife Kim, teenage daughter Katie, young son Greg, and their dog Digger, are on a rafting trip in an uncharted region of the Amazon. They are suddenly swept up in a whirlpool and emerge in a mysterious realm where cave people coexist with dinosaurs. They are rescued and befriended by a family of Neanderthal people whose family makeup mirrors their own. Father Garrick, Mother Gara, teenage son Locke, young daughter Tara, and their pet baby Stegosaurus Glump. Through 16 episodes, the Butler family searches for a way home while learning to survive in this Valley of the Dinosaurs. The Butlers introduce the cave people to simple technology, such as the wheel, lever, and windmill, while the cave dwellers teach the Butlers how to coexist with their natural world. The series was meant to be both entertaining and educational. Although the Valley of the Dinosaurs only ran for one season, the story was expanded upon in an 11-issue comic book run published by Charlton. The comics featured stories that were a bit more complex than the cartoon series. In a related note, Hanna-Barbera created a similar series in the 1960s called Dino Boy, that was shown in the same half hour as Space Ghost. A young boy named Todd parachutes out of his parents' crashing plane and lands in a lost valley in South America, where dinosaurs and cavemen still exist. He's befriended by a caveman named Ugg, and his brontosaurus named Bronte. It's never been explicitly stated that Todd wound up in the same place as the Butler family, but how many lost valleys of dinosaurs can there be in the South America of the Hanna-Barbera universe? And that brings us to number 1, Land of the Lost. On that September morning in 1974, Land of the Lost debuted on NBC. Created by Sid and Marty Krofft, who were known for live-action children's television shows like H.R. Pufnstuf that combined suitmation and puppetry. In this live-action series, the Marshall family, Father Rick, son Will, and daughter Holly, are on a rafting trip when an enormous earthquake sends them over a waterfall and through a dimensional portal to a lost world filled with dinosaurs, the ape-like Pakuni, and the most terrifying creatures to appear on Saturday morning television, the bug-eyed, hissing, reptilian Sleestak. The dinosaurs were brought to life by a combination of stop-motion and puppetry, and were all given names by the Marshall family, specifically daughter Holly, like Grumpy the Tyrannosaurus, Dopey the baby Brontosaurus, and Alice the Allosaurus. While most of Sid and Marty Krofft's productions were played for laughs, Land of the Lost took a much more serious tone, especially in the first season as the Marshall family tried to explore, survive, and adapt to this new world while trying to find the way home. Unlike Valley of the Dinosaurs, Land of the Lost took a much more science fiction approach to the concept, introducing the time-traveling character Enoch, an ancestor of the Sleestak, and the ancient technology of the crystals and pylons that could open doorways to alternate dimensions and affect the surrounding environment. After airing for 3 seasons of 43 episodes on Saturday mornings, Land of the Lost aired extensively in syndication. Land of the Lost was rebooted by the Kroffts in 1991, with a new version of the show airing on ABC for 2 seasons of 26 episodes. While there were no toys for the original 70s show, this new version received a toy line from Tiger Toys. In 2009, a film adaptation of Land of the Lost was released starring Will Ferrell as Rick Marshall. This version was supposed to be a parody of the original series, played for some very unfunny laughs, with Ferrell playing Marshall as one of his standard idiot man-child characters. The movie version of Land of the Lost is such a missed opportunity. It is so bad, avoid at all costs. That's it for my top 10 favorite Lost Worlds. What do you guys think? Have you heard of any of these Lost Worlds? Did you have a favorite on the list? Or do you have a favorite that I didn't even mention? Let me know in the comments. As always, thanks for watching. Thank you for your time and attention. And I will see you in the next video.